Jorgvin, how are we, buddy? Great start to the season on our end, I think. We've won both trophies. Could have done it a little bit easier, but, trophies are trophies. I am back with some more improvements that I think you might be interested in. Just hear me out. So first off, I would like us to improve the youth facilities yet again. I know that they've only been built for a week, but we need to keep them improving. Brader Blick still have our edge in that category, so can we go ahead with those?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Also, while we're at it, I'd like an improvement in the junior coaching and the youth recruitment.
Yes, absolutely.
Great stuff. Are you a Jim Carrey fan?
Yes, absolutely.
Of course you are. I would also like to go on a coaching course, get my Continental A license.
Yeah.
Great. As well as all of my backroom staff.
Yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. Love that. And I think that covers about everything. Can we get one more scout? We just need to keep track of all these youngsters coming through around the world.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Love your work, Bjorgvin. I hope you get re-elected. Cheers, mate. Bye. Love that guy. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 58 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode we have a league game against HK, quite a big match week that one has turned out to be. We're going to do our European Roundup, have a look at how we got on, who won the competitions around Europe, both the European and the domestic leagues in those top five. We're going to have a look at how far we've gone up in the rankings, the coefficient, our league compared to the other leagues, all that good stuff, and also the Champions League draw for the first few rounds of qualifying. So if you're looking forward to this big episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we start on the club info page yet again, just to show you guys we have indeed continued to chat up our yes man of a chairman. He is very, very open to our ideas, so it's quite good, hoping that he gets re-elected for next term, albeit I think the more new chairmen come through, they might still be persuaded by the fact that we are a club legend. But our youth facilities are now impressive and being upgraded yet again. This time it cost us around the £4 million mark, but luckily, using some of that Champions League money we did make from last season to improve the whole junior youth setup here at the club, hopefully that will pay dividends over the next 10 years or so of this save. We've upped our youth recruitment and now have good academy coaching as well. So the youth side of the club here is actually looking really good now, and we've also been able to get our staff on coaching courses and the likes of that. So it feels like things are moving in a very positive direction in the back rooms here at Völsungur. But we will start off with a few transfers that we did make towards the end of the transfer window, all of those being outgoings. I'm pretty sure at the end of yesterday's episode, we got up to that Hoja and Sigurdsson loans out. If you did miss yesterday's episode with the deal to Bakaro, I'll leave a link to that above my head in the top right corner. But since then, we have bought in Henry Reyes on a free transfer. He was already at the club, just had to wait for him to turn 18 years old, already wanted by a few clubs on loan, and we'll probably let that happen. Most of the other deals that we have done are loans out. The likes of Arnason, our homegrown club striker, is not really developing as well as we would like, so he's gone out to Phil Kerr, who are in the top division this season, so he is out on loan, a regular starter at a top division club. And David Radmore's also gone out on loan to Hafnaf Shador. I believe those guys are in the top division. They might actually be down in the one deal. In fact, they are. I think they got relegated last year, currently on top of that though, so that is good to see. They might make their way back into the top division sooner rather than later, and the likes of Sigurdsson is at Narts in the top division as well. But the player that we have sold is one of our homegrown club players, one of the players who was right here at the start of that save, and that is poor old Gerson. He has left for Vikingur Reykjavik. You could see he was only rated at 1-star current ability, 1.5-star potential, 28-year-old winger come striker. Just wasn't really up to the quality that we did need, and we do have some more homegrown club players coming through our system now. The likes of Ian Carlo, Adri Garrido are not far away from being homegrown club. In fact, I think it might happen before we get into the draw later in today's episode, so we don't need quite as many of these poorly rated homegrown club players around in wing is one of the areas where we are quite deep in homegrown club players. So when this offer did come through for old Gerson, we decided to accept it. Had a decent first season in the save, 5 goals and 8 assists in 20 appearances. Not too bad in the second season, down in the one dealt as well. But once we made our way up to the top division, just wasn't really of the required standard. He's actually had a really good start at Vikinga, 2 goals in 2 games, but he left us for £850, which for a player who really had no transfer value was not a bad deal at all. So he has left us, and that wraps up our transfer business for the moment. Still waiting on a few players who have purchased previously to join the club. And in fact, we did sign a young goalkeeper right on transfer deadline day for a compensation fee of £350,000. He's only 15 years old, but has a lot of potential already. 1.5 star current ability, A- rating from our scouts. We decided to go in for him, especially with Baru leaving us at the end of this season. He's going to be joining us in late July, and this is Zvonimir Hujaj. He is from Hajduk Split in Croatia. Obviously has just come through one of their youth intakes, so no first team appearances so far, but we're signing him for that potential. And he's joining us at a very young age, so he can become homegrown at club and in nations. That's the one bit of business that we have done since the end of yesterday's episode in terms of the incomings, but a few more deals that we have made in prior transfer windows that have not come through yet, but you can see some of these are going to be happening in early next year. And in fact, we have got rid of a few players on pre-contracts as well. Wilson Isidore, we have sold to Châteauneuf in France. He wanted to leave. He wasn't going to get featured in our team this upcoming season. Has gone down the pecking order since we first brought him to the club. He is leaving us for £65,000 at the start of July. And Noam Bonnet is joining Grenoble at the end of his contract at the start of November. He didn't mind staying, but wanted to be a squad player with a role of attacking midfielder, and we do not use him as an attacking midfielder. That was something that his agent put in, so it really didn't make much sense to try and keep him around anyway. So he is going back to France as well, but that's not too bad. We have the likes of Philippe West coming through the club, who can become the backup to Galtason as the defensive midfielder, and also Harrison Marina, player that we signed a few seasons ago on a free transfer when those South American contracts did expire. He's been on loan at Nats and will be joining them permanently at the start of next season as well. And I think that rounds up all the transfers that are going on at the moment. But we have started the league season since the end of yesterday's episode. But before that, we did play the Super Cup final against HK. A bit of a precursor to the game in today's episode, and we got off to a poor start in this one, despite us being at home around the quarter of an hour mark. Akinyemi there with a good header into the top right corner, and HK did go 1-0 up, and that was the score at halftime. Luckily, early in the second half, we were able to level the scores. Nicolucci Caviglia with a wonderful strike from outside the box there to get us back in the mix, but unfortunately about 10 minutes later, we went behind yet again. HK this year, based on this effort, are going to be quite a dangerous team. A goal there to Hergerworth. They do have a good strike force there at HK. Luckily, though, right on the brink of full time in Biamba, an absolute scramble in the box there. We got it going to extra time, and then we were awarded a penalty 10 minutes through the first half of extra time. Yao Pedro off the bench tucks that away, and we just get the job done there in the Super Cup final. 3-2 at home after extra time against HK, thanks to that Pedro penalty in extra time and that very late goal there to Mbayamba. But you can see there, HK might be a tough team. It was a game that we thoroughly dominated, but we just weren't quite firing in front of goal yet again, like potentially we should have been. Obviously, the XG there is going to be affected by that penalty that we did get in extra time, but a good tight game that was, and we did win our second trophy for the season, matching what we did last season. We have started off the league season in similar form to what we did at this stage of last season. Of course, last season we did not drop a single point, winning all 22 of our games, starting off with an away trip to Proto who you can see we have coming up in the Cup not too long off the back of this game. Pick up a 4-0 win with 2 goals early to Cadena, a goal to Rubio and Shaw all before half-time. Off the back of that, a few home games. First up, we took on Aquinas, a Rubio penalty, and another double this time in the second half to Sergio Cadena meant we picked up a 3-0 win there. Then we took on Nats. This was a very tight game. They got a red card just after half-time, but we had to wait until the dying embers of this game until Gabriel Corbo, returning from a little bit of a niggly injury coming off the bench, He got a header in the 95th minute to give us the points. It would have been one of those games similar to the HK one where we were quite dominant but wouldn't have picked up all points there. So that was quite a relieving goal that to keep our win streak going at the start of the season. And then we took on Phil Keir, picking up a 2-0 win with goals to Bjarkason and a wonderful second goal from Lorenzo Gavioli. Coming from a corner, it was cleared back out to Sekularak. We played a bit of a rotated team in this game, and Gavioli just funded that into the top left corner. So it's scored some pretty nice goals since you were last here and do remain unbeaten in the domestic season so far. Obviously, that means we are going to be top of the table. We have a 3-point gap over both HK and, rather surprisingly, Lechner Reykjavik, not a team that we did expect to be up near the top of the table at this stage. But as you can see there by the fixtures going on today, it is quite an interesting match week. We take on HK away from home off the back of that Super Cup final. That should be a very tight affair. It is also 3rd versus 4th with Nuts hosting Lechner Reykjavik as well. And most of these matchups this week are teams right next to each other. So it's a quite good match week to come back for. And hopefully we can keep up our form and try and match what we did last season. If we can win this game here against HK, and if other results do go our way, if most of these home teams do win, we should find ourselves with a good little gap at the top of the table when we do find ourselves starting Champions League qualifying. In tomorrow's episode, we have had some injuries over the first few games of the league season, but everyone has recovered from those now, so we are at full strength for this game, and we'll come back shortly and see if we can remain undefeated. I think we're going for something like our 28th win in a row or something ridiculous like that now, and we'll come back shortly from Corin, HK's home ground, to see if we can repeat our result from that Super Cup final in the preseason. 7 minutes gone, we have our first highlight of the game. It is a throw-in to HK. Should have mentioned in the build-up, we aren't actually quite at full strength. Corbo is on the bench still, just recovering from the injury that was the most recent. One of our first team players, only recommended for 45 minutes so far, so Kurt Shaw is starting out on the left-hand side of our defence, but HK on the attack so far. The shots in this game are in their favour, albeit only 1-0 in the early stages. Bit of a poor clearance that from one of our players, and they are back on the attack, and Iceland in a ton of space here down the right-hand side. So look to stretch us here on the wings. We are still defending narrowly, and that's so poor in goal that from Sarah Fellini. We have just gifted them a goal there. It was a pretty harmless looking shot, not too much power on it, but Iceland, who's found himself in quite a bit of space down this right-hand side, and a few parts of that movement opens the scoring for HK, and we fall 1-0 behind. Sarah Fellini just needs to be catching that. That is really poor from a goalkeeper who's been pretty good for us for the most part of this save so far, but we go 1-0 down early, and not too long off the back of that, HK might be on the attack again. Manala putting a ball over there for Hugerworth. As I said, HK quite a strong team attacking wise, and this time Sarah Fellini catches the ball. Well done, mate. That's brilliant. The crowd will give him no doubt a bit of stick for that, but hopefully we can get something going on the counter attack off the back of that after he had a howler, which allowed HK to open the scoring, but still early days in this game at least. We still have some time to find our way back into this one as we do try and play out from the back. Sarah Fellini pumps this deep, and Rubio does win that header. Sergio Cadena, who, as you would have seen from those stats from the opening few games, has started the season out on that left wing in absolute top form. Very happy with what he's been offering us since coming into the team, and some good short passing here. Can he make it? Another goal? You bet he can. That's his 7th goal of the season already. Not all of those in the league. A few of those would have came back in the deal to Bakar, but that is exactly what we needed off the back of that pretty sloppy bit of work from Sarah Fellini to give HK the lead. Some good short passing, building our way out from the back, and Nygaard will pick up another assist. He is getting a lot of assists. Cadena another goal, and we make it 1-1 at the 10-minute mark. 24 minutes gone. HK trying to clear that from the back, but a good header one there from Galtason just allows us to start building from the back. Yet again, nice ball there for Rubio. Tries to chip the goalkeeper. He likes a chip, but not many of them are on target. That one comes off the crossbar, and it does remain 1-1 approaching the half-hour mark. 41 minutes gone. We have a highlight shortly before half-time goal kick here to HK. We do win that header through Kurt Shaw, still finding some good form. He is being called upon, but Nygaard does give the ball away there, just a little bit slow on it, albeit Galtason yet again getting the ball back for us nicely and we look to build out from the back. Nygaard sometimes can just take a little bit too much time on the ball there. Not too sure if that's down to us playing at a lower tempo. Maybe we need to look at increasing that just a touch if things continue to fall in HK's favour, because so far they've actually been the more dominant team in this game, albeit off the back of that Super Cup final in the pre-season. Not unexpected, considering that that game was at our home ground. But here's a nice ball here for Cadena. Too much pace for the defence, but that comes off the upright. Another ball which nearly went in the back of the net, but it looks like we'll be going into halftime locked up at 1-1, and indeed that is the case with it. A few chances there, a few more highlights in our favour than HK, but the scoreline is 1-1, and based on the stats that you can see there, that's not too unfair. So I think we'll need to make one change here at halftime. Ian Carlo down to a 6.3 rating, and Mbiyamba's picked up a yellow card as well. So we'll bring Corbo on, seeing as he's restricted to those 45 minutes. He can come on for Mbiyamba, and Garrido for Carlo, seeing as he's not performing too well. And hopefully in the second 45 minutes we can grab a winning goal to maintain our undefeated streak here in the league. 60 minutes gone, and it looks like we do have a free kick here to start off the highlights in the second half. Galtason tries to crack that top left corner, a little bit too much height on it, and it does remain 1-1, albeit not too long off the back of that. We are going to get shown the goal kick from that free kick. We do win the header there through Corbo, but it does fall to Hugerworth here out on the right-hand side for HK. Manala ball, far post, Garrido doesn't pick up Tobias Hastad, and yet again we fall behind to HK this season. They are a real pesky team, being a lot more efficient with their shots on goal than us. We are still out XGing them in this game, but just not doing enough with that, and that's a pretty simple goal. Garrido just left in the dust there by Hestad. Not too sure quite how that's happened, and we go 2-1 down just after the hour mark, albeit we are shown the restart highlights, so hopefully yet again we can get back in this game. This might be one of those topsy-turvy games where if you're an HK manager, you'd start to pull your hair out a little bit if you're playing FM, because you're not quite sure why your team can't hold on to a lead. And we are on the attack straight off the back of that. Nice ball there for Rubio, puts it in the back of the net, just waiting for offside. Indeed, he is offside. That did look a little bit too good to be true for us there, so we nearly hit back with an instant reply 2 times in a row in this game, but he is a good straight offside, and it remains 2-1 just after the hour mark to HK. And not long off the back of those last few highlights, HK now look to get a goal, which could actually wrap this up for them. Hestad with a free kick. It just kisses the upright there and goes out for a goal kick. It does remain 2-1 with 20 minutes left. We have upped the tempo just to see if that's going to help us try and get a goal back in this game, but we are going to make our last substitution at this stage. Fedurski is down to a red heart, so I think what we'll do here is bring Arneson on for him. He's the best Mazzala option on the bench that we do have. We're training him as a right winger these days, but he did do a good job for us as a backup Mazzala last season. Did the young Icelandic player who we did buy from Mulder for over the £1 million mark. So that's our last sub. Hopefully he can help us get an equalising goal here in these last 20 minutes. 73 minutes gone. It is a free kick in our favour. Hopefully we can strike back. Lovely ball there for Arneson. Tries to chip the keeper. This time someone finally pulls off a chip. As I said earlier, Benjamin Rubio has been trying a lot of chip shots so far this season. All of them not coming off, but this time someone pulls one off. He needs to teach Benjamin how to do those, and it's Porstein Arneson. Good bench impact from him there. It's a very well taken finish. And we are back in this 15 minutes or just over that left to play, and it's locked up at 2-2. 5 minutes left in this game, and yet another free kick here for HK, this time on the opposite side to where it was before. And Hermansson is going to take it, and that forces a bit of a save, I think, there out of Serafellini. Not too sure if it came off the post and then his hand or his hand and the post, but either way we do keep it out and deal with the danger off the back of that. 5 minutes left, still locked up here at 2-2. And we'll have 4 minutes of added time in this game. Very even game stats-wise. We have out-XG'd them by about a goal. 2 clear-cut chances to none, but they have been very clinical with theirs here. Have HK. We haven't quite been as clinical as we would like. That's been quite a theme for the start of this season, especially those last few match weeks since our first 2 in the league. And we do go down somewhat here to a 2-2 draw, which kind of feels like a defeat considering that we have won all our games last season and for the start of this season domestically. It's been a long time since we haven't won a game domestically. Now that's going to end our winning streak at about 27 games in the league, I believe. But as I said earlier, HK are looking like quite a good team this year. Could be interesting to see how close they do make it in the league, and if they potentially go past us, which could make things interesting in terms of our job security, albeit I do think we have some points on the board there, and we should eventually, once some of these newer players in the starting 11 get blooded into the team and feel a bit more comfortable, get more of those green lines down either flank, because those are the areas so far we're not quite linking up as well as we would like in terms of when you see the tactic and there's those green links between players. It's just between the wing backs and the wingers at the moment where those aren't the case, but not a bad result away from home there, I feel, albeit never great to be dropping points with a team like ours at this stage when we are such red-hot favourites for the league this season. And what that means at the end of the gameplay section of today's episode is that we are now only 1 point clear at the top of the table after 5 match weeks. 1 point ahead of Lechner Reykjavik, still 3 points ahead of HK, so that's not so bad. And Lechner Reykjavik are not a team expected to be hanging around that top of the table area for too much longer, considering they were expected to be a lower mid-table team in the season preview. So we've still got the march there on HK as long as we can keep picking up the points off the back of this result leading into those Champions League qualifiers. We should be okay. We still should have a squad quite a bit deeper than those other clubs do as well. It is interesting to note, though, that Lechner Reykjavik do have a few of our lone players in their squad at the moment, but still top of the table, albeit not by quite as many points as we would like, and it's not going to be as good a season as last season, considering that we already have dropped points, but we will come back shortly and do our European Roundup. And back in the inbox off the back of that game, and now it's time for us to do our European Roundup, something I meant to actually bring up before the start of that game and at the start of the episode, but I suppose it ties in a little bit better to this Champions League Roundup and European Roundup, an inbox item here with the Champions League review, and you can see that we were the biggest overachievers there by reaching the group stage, which is interesting. We also picked up a little bit of money from the coefficient rankings as well, and we may as well just crack on and start with those coefficient rankings. We'll make our way down to about where we are in 28th place. We are getting rid of a 0.625 for next season, and we did pick up a 5.25, which is by no means a bad year, but it's our worst year so far being a part of Europe, which is a little bit interesting because, of course, we won most of our qualifying games this time around to make those Champions League group stages, but didn't win as many games from that point onwards. So maybe we're better off down the Conference League or the Europa League as shown by those prior 2 years. But so far, that's our worst year coefficient-wise, which is interesting considering that we were able to make the Champions League group stages, but we are going to be on a 21.458 coefficient for the 2026-27 season. That will see us rise above Hungary, Croatia, nearly above Bulgaria. We're going to be rising above Norway as well. So we're going to be getting a jump of about 3 places there. So we will go up to 25th. That won't have much of an impact on where teams do enter the various stages of Europe for the season after that, but something to keep in mind for next season, something which could, of course, help out our coefficient for next season. We are going to need a decent season next season just because we are getting rid of the strongest coefficient year before we did join Europe there with a 2.75. We should be able to match about what we've been doing so far, though, hopefully, but we will have teams entering the second qualifying round league path of the Conference League instead of the first qualifying round, and that should help us out quite a bit as well. You can see there all 3 of the teams in behind us in the league entering the second round. No change for us. We are still entering the first qualifying round of the Champions path of the Champions League, but maybe those teams in behind us can do a little bit better in Europe now that they have to play a few less qualifying games and hopefully can start making their way themselves into the group stages of a European competition sooner rather than later as well. But time for us off the back of that to do a roundup of who won what this season. You probably saw who won the Champions League before, so we may as well start with those European competitions, and we will start off with the Champions League, and the winner of that was Real Madrid in extra time of the final against Chelsea a day before we did play that game against HK. The semi-finals, Real Madrid did beat Man City, and Chelsea did beat Man United, just going back a little bit further to try and figure out where the teams who came out of our group ended up being knocked out. And we'll actually do it on the left-hand side. Porto got drawn against Chelsea, losing 4-1 on aggregate. So we probably would have got beaten like that if we had a snuck through ahead of those guys. And Atalanta had an absolute shocker against Liverpool, going out 9-1 on aggregate. So no real benefit there for Atalanta for topping that group that we were in. We make our way down to the Europa League, and the winners of that were Nice beating Arsenal 2-1 in the final. And if we go back to the semi-finals, that's interesting because in one of the semi-finals, Arsenal beat Real Sociedad 11-1 on aggregate, which is interesting to see. We make our way back a little bit further, and you can see exactly where Lille, who knocked us out in the first knockout round, ended up. They were knocked out by the eventual finalists in Arsenal in the quarterfinals. So that pretty much rounds up the teams who we played in European competitions this season. And the final of the Europa Conference League, finally matching up with our beta save on this year's FM, was taken out by Tottenham Hotspur 2-1 after extra time against PSV Eindhoven. So that's what happened in the UEFA competitions this year. Now time to go and have a look at what happened in the top 5 European leagues. And we start off in the top one of all, and this is the Premier League. Manchester City fairly comfortably winning this by 4 points. Chelsea, Arsenal and Man United round off the top 4 and are well clear of the rest. Next up, Liverpool in their own little continent there, really, in 5th place and making the Europa League alongside Leeds United and Brighton are going to be playing in the Conference League. But of course, Tottenham get an extra spot through winning the Conference League. We make our way over to La Liga Santander, and Real Madrid win that pretty comfortably over Barcelona, with Sevilla and Villarreal rounding out the Champions League spots. Atletico Madrid and Valencia in the Europa League, and Athletic Club, of course, who we did beat into 3rd place in our Champions League group this season. They are dropping all the way down to the Conference League. Over to Serie A, Juventus, as you would expect, very comfortable champions there by 15 points over Inter, with Napoli and AC Milan rounding out the Champions League qualification teams. Atalanta and Lazio in the Europa League, and Bologna, a team who are after quite a few of our players at the moment, alongside Hellas Verona, some of those Italian teams wanting our players. Hopefully it will be a case of hands off, but Bologna are going to be in the Conference League. Over to the Bundesliga, it looks like Hanover have beaten Nuremberg in the playoff for that. And if we have a look, Hanover, that means staying up in the Bundesliga. But Bayern Munich yet again are champions, with Dortmund, Leipzig and Gladbach rounding out the Champions League teams. Bayer Leverkusen and Wolfsburg in the Europa League, and Hertha Berlin will be in the Conference League. And down to Ligue 1, Saint-Etienne beat Sochaux-Montbéliard in the playoff, and that means that Saint-Etienne do also remain in the top division, but PSG very comfortably winning Ligue 1 over Lyon and Nice for the Champions League spots. Monaco and Lille in the Europa League, and it is Marseille who will be in the Conference League for next season. But we'll just go forward a little bit from here and just wait until we do get into that Champions League draw, and by then we should also have a little bit more European information coming up shortly. And we are about to have our Champions League draw, but before that, a bit more European information has come through. Now the rankings and things have been sorted out off the back of that past European season. First off, we have had a rise in league reputation. Previously, we were down in 59th place, where now the Israeli league is, but we have gone up to the 50 mark exactly, up from 59th for the Islands deal to now a 2-star reputation league. Not too sure if that's been improving alongside the rise up the rankings, but that's a decent little rise for us there. Now the 50th best league in Europe, considering where we started when we joined that league. I think we were down somewhere in the 90s. That is a good rise. And over to the club coefficient, we have another good rise up in this as well. We steadily make our way down. I think we'll find ourselves soon. We were down around the 90-something mark, just above Celtic at the start of the last European season, or at the end of the last European season. This time around, we are now in 63rd, picking up 9 coefficient points to go alongside our 17 from last season and our 5 from that first season, where we were in the Conference League, now on 31 coefficient points. And that means that we should have a good ranking position going into this upcoming Champions League draw. But now We are the 63rd best team in Europe, and that is a pretty good rise, but it is time for us to do the Champions League draw. You can see down there that we are indeed one of the best ranked teams for this first qualifying round, just below Maccabi Tel Aviv and Ludogorets Razgrad. We make our way down a little bit further, and you can see some of the other teams who are in the mix for this. If it's anything like last season, we should end up getting a quite kind draw for not just the first qualifying round, but for that second qualifying round as well. And that is key, because if we get past those first two qualifying rounds, we guarantee ourselves a place in at least the group stages of a European competition at that stage, as we start to make our way through this draw. And just wait for us to come up, just trying to keep an eye out and see which teams are disappearing. Sheriff would have been an interesting tie as one of the unseeded teams, but they have drawn Bohemian, and we continue to make our way down. Bate come out of the hat, as do Lana from Northern Ireland, and we're just waiting for us to come up at this stage, having to wait a little bit longer than we did last time around. And there we are. We have been drawn against Slovakia's Dunajska Streda. So that is what's going to be coming up for you guys in tomorrow's episode. The first qualifying round over 2 legs against those guys, albeit if we do a number on those guys like we did to Zalgiris Vilnius, or as we called them back then, the Hogwarts team last season, looks like they've got a much kinder draw this time around, taking on the team who comes out of the initial qualifying. But if we do a similar job on those guys in the first league, we might just show you guys the highlights from the second league if it's looking like a bit of a bloodbath like it did against Zalgiris Vilnius last season. And we've also had the draw made for the second qualifying round as well. The winner of the tie that we and that Slovakian team are in will be taking on either Sarajevo or Lana of Northern Ireland in the second qualifying round. And that, again, looks like quite a favourable draw for us, provided that we do lift our game a little bit on what we've shown for the most part so far this season, because it just doesn't feel like we're clicking quite as well as we could be. But hopefully by the time we get into those Champions League qualifiers, that is the case. And as we said earlier, we can do a bit of a number on this Slovakian team, much like we did to the Lithuanian team in the first qualifying round last season. But that will do it for today's episode. If you did enjoy it, that draw in the league against HK, that keeps things quite interesting in terms of the league at the early stages of this season, as well as that big European Roundup and the Champions League draw. Then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Tomorrow we will come back for that first qualifying round tie of the Champions path of the Champions League against Dunajska Streda of Slovakia. Maybe not both legs. We'll see how things are going after the first one. Otherwise, we might just call mercy rule on those guys if we are in quite top form like we were last season. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.